everybody, to Truth Be Told Conversations. It's your favorite twin flame, Janine, along with my beautiful co-host and twin flame and best friend, Miss Keisha.
Hey.
And I just wanted to let everybody know that the information here is for entertainment purposes only, and we do discuss some sensitive information. And for those that may need help with anything that is pertaining to any medical information, please make sure you seek further advice. We just wanted to put that disclaimer out there.
Yes, indeed.
So now that we got all that nasty stuff out the way, I just wanted to let everybody, or I wanted to talk to everybody about our twin flameism a little bit. And our twin flameism, we've been lucky. We've been relatively lucky.
We sure have.
Because we have had a very beautiful relationship, which doesn't happen often.
It doesn't.
And there's a lot of twin flames who know that their twin flames can really testify to the fact that a twin flame experience can be very, very challenging.
It can.
And I have more than one twin flame. Don't be jealous, girl.
Listen, I don't want no more. No disrespect to you.
No, and I don't blame you, because you don't want to have to deal with what I'm dealing with my other twin flame.
Yeah.
And now that I know that this person is my twin flame, now I see all of the nonsense that I've been dealing with, and it's been put to the forefront, and it's been extremely, extremely challenging.
Yes.
But for us, we have been so fortunate. I feel so honored and so blessed in the relationship that we have, because we haven't had these challenges. Number one, you have a beautiful personality, though.
Thank you.
You make it easy to get along with you, and I absorb people like a sponge. I really like to see how other people interact with others and try to make it my own. And over time, I have learned how to be a lot like my bestie. That's why people are like, "Oh, I see how you guys are." Yeah, Trinity said that about us. Like, "Oh, I see how you guys are twin flames." People say that to me too.
Definitely.
And we have definitely learned how to balance our energy in a really incredible way. So that way we can prevent a lot of that push-pull effect that happens with twin flames.
Yes.
Knowingly we have challenges in our relationship, but we don't allow it to become, out of control.
I agree.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we have to understand, I don't know any perfect relationship, even friendships.
Absolutely.
If you're with someone who thinks exactly like you, then that's your doppelganger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you actually need someone who doesn't think exactly like you, because you grow with that person.
Yeah.
So continue.
Yeah. But we did have one episode.
We sure did.
We had one episode which was the turning point in our spirituality.
It sure was.
Crazy.
And it had to happen.
It had to happen.
Did you realize that? It had to happen. We had to separate for things to propel into the right direction.
I know.
Yeah.
And
I got goosebumps to hear.
Yeah. And that incident, and there was such a buildup, because at that time is when I started to have signs. And a lot of people that go through a spiritual awakening start to see signs and don't realize that that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I started to see like 9/11 a lot. And I was paying attention to a lot of like tarot card readings online, and I used to send it to you, remember?
I remember.
And I used to say, "Keish, watch this.
Yeah.
And then there was this time where we went to, you had threw your daughter's birthday party.
Yes.
And there was this one guy that I watch on YouTube, and I can't remember his name. I wish that I knew his name. I would give him a shout out right now. But he did this Virgo tarot card reading.
Yeah.
And he was so on point, right? I love when you find these guys on YouTube and they're so on point. And he had this on point Virgo reading, and he was talking about, or a card came up that was the tower. The tower card came up, and the tower card was in reverse. And the tower card was, he was like, you know, be mindful, Virgo, that the tower card, there's going to be a lot of destructive energy around you. And, you know, you have to learn how to master your energy because it's going to be massive. And I'm like, and I remember you had so much going on because of your daughter's birthday party. And I'll never forget, because I know you don't remember this. And I'm showing you at the party, and I'm like, Keish, look, watch this. And you're like, yeah, girl, I'll watch it later. And I was so mad at you because I'm like, no, watch this. This is crazy because something's about to go down.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I had my ex there, the one that I tell everybody about. And he and I had this big explosion at the birthday party, remember?
I remember that, yeah.
Ooh. We had this big explosion at the birthday party. And then soon after that explosion, I think it was just this buildup of energy. And then soon after that explosion, then you and I had a falling out.
Yes. So, you know, the funny thing with our falling out.
Yeah.
I know this was the other side because I can't remember the particulars of exactly what the subject was, but I say this to this day. There's been 2 times in my life I know I have been, they call it jumped.
Yeah.
Where something hops in your body because something literally hopped in my body and was talking for me.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what I said to you.
I remember you said that.
But it was blah, 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 blah. And I do know it's my spiritual team because they needed us to be here.
Yeah.
And that was a transition. That was part of the transition for us to get to this point. And the thing was, I had to be away from you so you can finish your enlightenment journey. Like, because you were going through an enlightenment. And I'd be honest with you, when you were going through that phase, I was getting very concerned. So, and this is a good talk right here.
Bitch, you thought I was crazy.
I thought I was going to have to call Mama Angie. Because I was like,
don't call my mama.
This bitch is lunching. I was like, something's off. So y'all got to keep in mind, like, right now I call myself a spiritualist and a Christian. At that time, I was only a Christian.
Yeah.
So I was not open-minded to any of this. I was intrigued by psychics, and I was even intrigued by the whole tarot card thing.
Yeah.
But I kept my Christianity right here.
Yeah.
And so when you were going through your enlightenment, I was like, this girl needs some help. But I was like, but you see, like you said, you like my person, that you love my personality because I didn't make you feel bad.
No.
Because I'm like, okay, listen, if this is what you're going through, I got to respect it. But going back to what happened, so something hopped in my body, and then I said what I said, and then that's when we split for a while.
Yeah.
You actually blocked me. I called it like,
oh, you got like, blocked, bitch.
I was like, I'm gonna call 48 hours from now. I called her.
And I remember, and you got the operator.
I remember. So I said, but the funny thing is, you didn't block my kids. So I said, Heaven, call Auntie Janine, and it went right through. I said, hang up.
I was about to block their ass too.
She probably like, oh, I forgot. Should have blocked Heaven too.
No, that was strategic because I wanted you to know that you.
You are an asshole. Oh well, it worked.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That was a really dark and heavy time, and something that in spirituality we call dark night of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And as a twin flame relationships can end abruptly.
Yeah.
And sometimes when they end abruptly, they don't circle back around.
Mm-hmm.
And in some instances, they do circle back around.
Yeah.
And fortunately for us, we circled back around.
And hold your thought, because sometimes twin flames, or many times twin flames understand that they can't be together.
Correct.
That movie, what's the movie with Will Smith? oh my God, anywho, he was some kind of superhero.
Uh-huh.
And he had a twin flame. They didn't call her a twin flame in the movie, but they
Yeah.
realized in the movie that they could not, their energies was too strong for one another.
Yeah.
So they had to separate. So a lot of twin flames understand that I can't be around this person.
Yeah.
Because it's just, sometimes it becomes toxic.
Yes, it's too
Yep.
much. And that has a lot to do with understanding how to balance yourself
Yeah,
and just mastering your vibration.
definitely.
And I'm a strong-minded person.
You sure are.
But you know what's so beautiful? That you always say that I remind you of your mom.
You do. You do.
And this is why I think that you can tolerate me when most bitches can't tolerate me.
Because you know what? You and my mom are misunderstood.
Yes, I
and
am.
don't understand that you come from the heart.
Yes.
And my mother was the type, like, if you had bad breath, she's going to let you know.
Yes.
Her thing is, I'm not going to let you go somewhere with bad breath and people are walking away from you.
Yeah.
So that was her thing. And people didn't understand her method until after she passed away. And then, right after she passed away, people got it. And it was like, wow, she really was a blessing.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am.
Yeah. And I'm sorry that she didn't get her flowers from those people at that time, because she started realizing that she was the, like how you called yourself the mean girl.
Yes.
She was considered the mean girl, but like, how do you call somebody a mean girl if they trying to tell you your breath stinks?
Yes.
In a loving way.
In
like,
a
listen,
loving
you're
way.
about to go out there. Let me give you some gum.
Yep.
I remember one time she tried to give somebody some gum and it was like, no, I don't need it. She was like, no, you do need it. But then something like that, she was considered a mean girl.
Yes.
So anywho.
Oh, God bless Mama Rosa.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have been very, very fortunate in understanding how our relationship works.
Yes.
And us being open to our experience and our journey in spirituality. And even though we both grew up in the church,
yes,
and then now blossoming into this new experience in understanding the universe and spirituality in the way that we have, we have held each other's hand throughout the entire process.
We sure have.
Yeah,
we sure have. And I always give you kudos because, another video I mentioned how I'm a scaredy cat. I'm not a scaredy cat anymore, but I was a scaredy cat in the beginning. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is just too much. And it was happening so fast.
Yeah.
And I need people who are enlightened to understand, like, once that door opens, you can't go back, number one.
No.
And then you have to try to pace yourself because there's so much information. It would make you, I think one time I almost had I want to call it a nervous breakdown. Because when I was like, wait a minute, wait. This is not what I learned in church.
Yeah.
And this is not, technically I didn't think it was in the Bible, but I found out a lot of information is hidden in the Bible.
It's in the Bible.
Yeah. But it was brand new information to me. So it was funny because I went to a psychic medium at that time because I didn't have my skills yet.
Yeah.
And so I asked them directly, I said, please, I need you to talk to my spirit guide and find out from them what is going on with me. And they said, I was waiting for my spirit guide to tell me to stop. I swear to God. But they said, no, take your time and you will absorb it and you will understand.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Yeah.
I got to continue this journey.
Too late, bitch.
I was like, I'm in here.
Tag you in.
Yes.
So when we went through our spiritual awakening, I actually went through mine first.
You sure did.
And that incident with us breaking apart is what triggered my awakening and yours.
Yes.
And, it was hard because not only did I feel alone in the process, but I was at a very, very low time in my life.
Yes.
Because I didn't have my bestie to go through the experience.
Yeah.
And
I commend you because I couldn't have done that by myself.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I commend you because this is hard.
Yeah, thank you. And the things that were happening around me were so profound, and it's unexplainable. The downloads that I was getting, the information that was just clicking. It was, you can't formulate it into words when you have a spiritual awakening, and especially when you're going through it by yourself, like you said, when you go through it by yourself, you're just like, holy crap. It's like the whole world. It's like it's like you swallowed the pill.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're looking around you like, wait a minute, this is not the world that I thought I once knew. And
well, so I had my near-death experience before our breakup.
Yeah.
And till this day, I swear to God, I said, because I know we're twin flames, so they had to decide who was going to go over to that place I went to.
Well, I'm glad that was you.
Exactly. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. You know why, Janine? You're like, nah, that didn't happen. I think
You think I would have? You think I would have?
I think so. Because you know how many times I tried to convince myself that didn't happen?
Okay.
I tried to convince myself, and they kept saying, no, it happened.
Interesting.
And it was very traumatic. That was, I don't wish that on anybody.
Yeah.
But I know it had to happen for me because I was such in a deep, dark place in my life.
Yeah.
And even after that, I still wasn't enlightened, but it was the foundation for where we were going.
Yeah.
But that right there, like you said, I'm glad it was me versus you.
Oh, just to clarify, because I know someone had asked on TikTok, how did you die? Can you explain what happened to you?
I was in so I'm not going to give you the pre-story, but I was literally in a parking lot. Me, my husband, and my mother-in-law pulled up into a Walmart in our area. We came back from Atlantic City.
Your favorite place.
Yes. And my husband woke me up and he said, do you want to come in? And I said, no. He said, well, do me a favor, lock the door. And till this day, I didn't lock the door. Until this day, I feel like if I locked the door, I would not be sitting here. That's just my theory.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, I appeared in the parking lot. I'm walking in the parking lot like, I'm scratching my head like, how did I end up out here? And then that's when they showed me my mother-in-law and my husband crying and going back to the truck.
Yeah.
Now, they had to work fast with me because they were only in the store for 20 minutes.
Right.
So from there, they took me directly to a dimension that's not heaven and is not what they call hell. And I knew immediately, like when I was there, I knew I died.
So you were in the car and I'm just going to say you probably just stopped breathing. Something happened where you probably stopped breathing. Yeah.
Something happened. And so like I was saying a few minutes ago, I try to trick my brain to say, no, you were just sleeping and dreaming. But every so often they would give me signs and clues. And then I started searching. And I found some videos of people that the same thing happened to.
To corroborate your information.
Yes, and I'm like, shit, this really happened.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why I didn't want to know what happened, because I had a little shame, because I'm like, wait, I didn't go to, like you hear these videos, people went to heaven and they saw the angels and people were dancing and their family greeted them. And, and then they say their family told them it's time, you got to go back and all that. You know, I didn't have that opportunity for somebody to tell me it's time to go back. I was like, I swear to God, I knew I was dead, and I looked up at the sky and I said, God, if you allow me to come back, I will praise your name. I will do whatever you need me to do.
Yeah.
But just rewinding it, so where I was very gloomy.
Right.
But when you looked up towards the sky, it was so bright. You had to go like this. You couldn't even look directly at this light. I found out later through my research that was heaven.
Yeah.
So my dimension was obviously not at that level. And come to find out ever so often, the dimension I'm in, angels will come and say, okay, are you ready to go upstairs?
Right.
But there's many reasons why people go to that dimension, but they needed me to see that dimension for people to understand that does exist.
Yeah.
And the theory of you going straight to heaven does not always happen.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are sent there. I found out through meditation and prayer. A lot of times people are sent there because of shame and guilt, and they feel like they're not ready to see God. So they let you be in that holding pattern. And it could be hours, days, weeks, months. It could be a couple years until the person is actually ready to go upstairs.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they just have you there for a little while because they want you to do a life review while you're there. And the reason why they need you to do a life review while you're there is because when you go to a higher level and they scan your body, they have found that it's very traumatic, the scanning. Because you see how you hurt, you see the good, the bad, and the ugly from other people's eyes, not from yours.
Right.
So when you're in the dimension I was, you actually get to sit there because there's nothing to do. You get to sit there and really analyze your life. So by the time you go get scanned, you be like, yeah, I knew I had some stuff with me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yep. But that was an experience.
Crazy. So we technically went through because
I need to just rewind.
Go ahead.
So when my husband and my mother-in-law came back to the car, this is where all three of us knew that my soul was not in my body, because when my husband opened the door, I went like I literally inhaled my soul. And I was literally in the other dimension. I went from that dimension and then when I inhaled my soul, I looked at the dashboard. And I sat there like a zombie and I instantly knew. I said, oh shoot, I was dead. I knew. It was not like at that moment I knew.
Right.
So and then my mother-in-law was like, my husband and my mother-in-law was like, oh my God, what kind of sound is that? It was like, what's going on? So a few minutes later, my husband said, Keisha, are you okay? You haven't said a word. And I said, while you guys went in Walmart, my soul left my body. And my mother-in-law said, I know you're not lying. She said, I know you're not lying.
Yeah.
Because the way you inhaled your soul, I inhaled deeply. Like that was traumatic.
Yeah.
That was traumatic.
So that's, first of all, that's crazy.
It is.
So you calling me crazy? Your ass is crazy too, bitch.
But see, like I said, I'd rather that had happened to me, not you.
Yeah, well,
I took the L
thank
for
you
that.
for taking the L. Real talk.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking that L. Because you're right.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I don't wish that on nobody.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if I would have been able to interpret it the way that you did.
Yeah.
And you're right. Maybe I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
But they did have me go through the awakening process first, and I guess they believed that they felt that I would be able to tolerate the awakening process better than you.
Yes, and I agree.
And when I did, it was heavy, man.
Mm-hmm.
It was heavy because what did I know about spirituality other than religion? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know shit.
I remember when we finally started speaking and you told me that you're getting messages from the other side, and I was like,
I couldn't help but call you and tell you.
Like, I'm going to call her mama because she's lunching over there.
I had to call you.
Yeah.
I had to, because the things that were coming to me, I mean, I was getting woke up in the middle of the night and I was hearing voices.
Mm-hmm.
Not to sound like I'm crazy.
Schizo.
No. But
I'm only
now
joking,
I know
you guys.
that it was my guides.
It sure was.
Giving me information and telling me things about me and telling me things about my ex.
Okay.
That crazy to the point where I'm bawling crying in the middle of the night in my sleep. It happened twice.
Okay.
Where they came to me and they told me this information.
Ooh, that must have been scary.
Oh, what? Never had anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and mind you, now this happened during COVID, and I think a lot of people experienced.
Yes, a lot of people woke up.
A lot of people woke up during COVID. Now, do you know why? Think about it. Think about why that happened.
So my theory on that, and you know it's funny because you and I never discussed this.
Yes.
My theory on that was that people had to, first of all, people had to sit their asses down.
That's exactly right.
And stay home and think.
And sit in silence.
And then they were able to hear.
And the world stopped.
The world stopped. It really
That's
did.
why meditation is that connection that happens where people start to get messages, because COVID forced people
it sure did.
into a certain level of meditation because the world slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear, that's why everybody was like, everybody all of a sudden was like, wait a minute, right? Was starting to wake up. and was having these weird spiritual experiences. And that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
I got these weird, I mean, I had the TV off. I got bored with the TV. And I think that was around the time where I kind of stopped watching TV. Like even to this day, you know, I don't have TVs in my house.
I'm like, Janine, so-and-so got killed for real?
I'll be like, well, okay.
Turn on the TV, you'll see it.
Be like, okay.
So, I don't watch no TV.
You don't watch no damn TV. But yeah, so I am used to now sitting in silence, but I think that was a big trigger for people. Not I don't want to use the word trigger, but that was a moment for people where they were sent or led into their spiritual awakening during the COVID.
One of the things I need people to understand is that when major things like that happen, don't get it twisted. God is involved.
Mm-hmm.
Because one time I was on a spiritual page and someone asked a great question. They said, when did you become enlightened? Most of the people got enlightened in 2000, the ending of, and they literally was given dates, the ending of 2019 and through 2020.
Yeah.
A lot. So it was starting before COVID had fully hit. That lets me know God was preparing people.
Yeah.
And he needed people to wake up.
Yep.
Because mankind, I think, was, not to say mankind is perfect now, but mankind was getting really out of hand around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And what 2020 did for a lot of people, it brought unity across the world where people were concerned about not even just their own country, but other countries. I remember sitting there watching Italy suffer with all the dead, all the dying people. So we all had compassion for one another.
Indeed.
In that process.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And it was a low for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, that's one of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about today. So, I wanted to bring up the spiritual awakening process because obviously it's important to know that how spirituality affects us, and knowing that when you become enlightened, that you have to learn how to master your enlightenment and master your tools in a way, because things happen in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when things happen in life, how can you maintain your enlightenment and your vibration when lows happen, like COVID?
Yes.
So we recently, this past week, we were hit with a lot of heavy stuff this week.
Especially you, but you were going through it for the last 3 weeks, actually.
Last 3 weeks. And I had a death in the family.
Yeah, I'm sorry
a very
about that.
prominent individual in my family, and it really shook my family a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong, I understand the death process. So it wasn't the death that interrupted my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It was the chaos that was happening in my family that interrupted me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared for it. And that really brought me to an extreme sinkhole.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost was disappointed in the way that I managed it. But this is an important conversation because I need people to really understand, as spiritualists, that sometimes we have to give ourselves that space to also be okay, and recognizing that we're also human.
Exactly.
And even though I was witnessing my family go through the grieving process, even myself, I grieved, and we have been talking about vibration, and I know that this is the foundation of our work, is people knowing how to master their vibrations.
Yes, indeed.
And for the most part, I think I did okay during my grandmother's transition.
Yes.
But I will say that I did hit a few lows. very bad lows.
Can you give us example of what kind of lows you hit? And you don't have to get, because I know it involves family members, so I don't want you to expose anybody, but from your personal angle, like,
So even with dealing with grief, I will say, when we deal with death,
mm-hmm.
as spiritualists, we have to understand that we are lowering our vibration when we sit in grief.
Oh, yeah.
And it's okay because we are human.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Give yourself that space and that moment to grieve someone. But you don't want to sit there too long because I guess I already said who passed away. It was my grandmother that passed away. So when my grandmother passed, my grandmother was 94.
I think the age helps.
It helped.
Because my grandfather died at 62. We were rocked. We were like, that was traumatic.
I get it.
So I think the age helped a little bit.
So my grandmother was 94, and one thing I didn't want to do was mourn her because I felt like if she was ready to go, if her soul was ready to move forward,
mm-hmm.
then we had to accept her decision.
Yes.
And her being 94, she was blessed in having to live a life long enough and experience this earthly realm long enough,
mm-hmm.
more than the average person. And you and I being nurses,
oh yeah,
during COVID, we have seen a lot of death,
mm-hmm.
and in general. But even just talking about COVID, I mean, I was seeing people die in their 20s and their 30s.
Mm-hmm.
30s was a major number for people to have died during COVID when I was in the hospital. 30s was major, and it was the most traumatic thing for somebody who wasn't a spiritualist at the time
mm-hmm.
to have witnessed.
Yeah.
And to think that my grandmother made it to 94 years
mm-hmm.
and lived a full life and had a lot of loving people and family, because my
mm-hmm.
grandmother gave birth to 10 children.
God bless her.
Mm-hmm.
God bless her.
And she loved all of them individually, obviously, in different
mm-hmm.
ways, not to mention her community.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of people there that showed her a lot of love.
Mm-hmm.
So I refused to sit in grief.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of family members were looking at me like, oh, Janine didn't cry. And she's going to have a breakdown. They were waiting for me to have a breakdown.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
And that's just how I chose to deal with her death.
Okay.
Because I have accepted and honor her soul's transition.
Yeah.
Because I understand the death process in the way that I do. And everybody else in my family does not understand it the way that I do. And
mm-hmm.
I have to accept what their ideas.
Definitely.
And accept the fact that they don't understand mine either.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing,
mm-hmm.
that I didn't sit in grief.
Okay.
Right? I sat in it for a minute, and then I came out of it very quickly.
And that was a blessing.
Mm-hmm. I chose to celebrate and stay in a higher vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying this so that way people can understand how the vibrational scale can work
mm-hmm.
for other people who are learning spirituality.
Yes.
It can take time for people, and I know that everybody may not see it the way that I see it.
Yeah. Because
especially if you lose a child.
Oh, yeah, that's hard.
That's maybe different.
Yeah.
Or if you lose someone that is unexpected in a traumatic way.
Mm-hmm.
I know it may be very, very difficult to celebrate someone's life. I totally understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that we have to remember is that the soul chooses its experience,
mm-hmm.
which is hard for the average person to understand.
Yeah.
And, when we're in this human experience, we bring, like, for a child that we may have given birth to, we chose to give birth to this beautiful young baby, and then we lose a child at a young age, maybe like 2 or something like that, and then we lose the child. But as that mother, you can't understand losing that child, because I've lost a child, so I know what it's like.
Yeah.
And it's hard to understand in that moment, losing that baby.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, then you have to learn how to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I have to apologize because, this is for the audience, for people who are learning, because I mentioned, 94 is a good age, or is an age that's acceptable. So I apologize about that, because I remember being a hospice nurse and going to do pronouncements in the homes of someone who's over 100 years old, and the family is like bawling,
Still
crying.
grieving, yeah.
And so I understand. I don't care how old the person is. It's that connection you have with that person.
Yes.
And one of the best advice we can give, because there's so many different tools you can use in grieving, but one of the things that it's really important, and throughout the weeks, if you've been watching our videos, you've gotten tools, is when you have a person that you love, and especially someone who's older, because the clock is ticking, and at some point they're going to pass away. The best tool is just say, you know what? If I have any issues with this person, if I have any regrets, let me fix it before they pass away. Because I find people who don't fix the issues they had with the deceased, that's when they grieve for years, because it shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yes.
So somebody who has said their last goodbyes, it's a little easier for them to grieve in that transition. They might not be grieving for like years. They might just grieve for like for your instance, you only grieved for a few days, and that's a blessing. With my grandfather, I grieved for like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Every time I thought about him, I would just cry.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
It is. I was able to speak to her prior to her passing about a couple of things, and just me being the spiritual healer that I am, just having good talks with her about certain relationships in her life that I know may not have been perfect, just to see if these contracts could be fixed. And I was glad that I was able to partake in that process.
Yes.
And I hope that, and I believe that it did. I believe that I did my due diligence.
Good.
Because it was important to me. And it was, and I know it was important to the family members that I tried to help.
Good.
I also, when in speaking about the grieving process, my family doesn't know that I'm a psychic medium, which is also the other flip side to it all.
Yeah.
And I know that, I know that they're sitting there, they're like, oh, why isn't this girl crying? But other than like my sisters and my mom, they have no idea of the gifts that I have. And eventually, maybe my family will see this show. And I just wanted to put out there that my grandmother came to me within 24 hours of her passing.
Amen to that.
She did. And it's funny because I had gotten a reading back in 2018. Remember I told you about this reading from this really phenomenal medium who said that when my grandmother crosses over, she was going to come to me, either me or my mother. We didn't know who it was going to be.
Okay.
And she came to me.
Amen.
And
I think it was the right person. Because I think your mom, when you're grieving heavy, you can't get the clear messages.
Yeah.
So I think with you, being a spiritualist and your gifts, grandma probably said, let me go to Janine.
Yeah.
Because I think that would have rocked your mom if she came to her.
Or she may not have believed it. I tried to tell my mom.
She probably was like,
she still doesn't believe it, because I think she's still coming to terms with the fact that I'm a medium.
You're gifted, yeah.
But God bless my little sister. When I told her, she was so proud of me.
Aw.
And she says, I really truly believe that you were meant to be a psychic medium. So I'm grateful to my little sister for accepting my gifts. But I do want to put out there to my family the message that my grandmother gave.
Oh, okay. Let's
in
hear
case that one day that they do watch this video. But my grandmother, when she came through, she was very weak because
Okay.
she was weak. Obviously, when she crossed,
Mm-hmm.
her soul was very weak. But I heard her, and she had a name for me. Her name, she called me Lady G,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard her come. Actually, what happened was I was in the house by myself, and I heard noise in the downstairs of my house. I heard
Okay.
movement, and I knew there was nobody there, but I heard it, and but I knew it was spirit. So I
Okay.
called out to it, and I said, "Who?" And I heard a knock I heard a knock,
Okay.
and then I asked again. I said, "Who?" And I heard a knock again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, "Who?" And I heard a knock again. And then the knock was in my room this time.
Mm.
So I said, let me try to receive what's happening around me, because I knew something was happening.
Yeah.
So I stood in the moment. I closed my eyes and I opened my third eye. And immediately I heard her very, very clearly. And she says, "Lady G." And I call her May, because her name was Mary. I said,
Okay.
"Hey, May." And she said, "Tell everyone that I made it."
Mm.
And I said, "Okay." I said, "I will." And she said, "Tell my family that I love them."
Mm.
And I said, "I will." And the unfortunate thing is that she passed on my cousin's birthday.
Yeah, I think that.
So she said, "Tell this cousin of mine," she said, "tell her I'm sorry."
Oh.
And she said, "Tell her I said happy birthday."
Oh, that's sweet.
Mm-hmm. And she said, "I'm here." No, she says, "I can see them." Actually, this was the day. This was the day she passed. Actually, I'm sorry. This was the day she passed. She says, "I see them." She says, "I can see them." And she named all of her children. She said she could see them in the room.
Mm.
She named all of them. And she said, she said again, "Tell them, my family, I love them." And then she says, "I'm here with my other sons." So she named her other sons.
Mm.
And I can hear them. It was weird. I could hear them. And then it's funny. I started to ask her a personal question that may have been inappropriate. And I heard my grandfather jump in. And he said, "Oh, hush, girl." It was so funny. He told me to hush. But then, I started to speak to the other family members that were present that I could feel.
Mm-hmm.
And they spoke to me, they said hi. And then I wished my grandmother well. And then I closed the channel.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I think you should do is take just this clip of the show, rewinding it a little bit about your gifts.
Yeah.
And then, because that message, see, one thing is you told your grandma you was going to let them know.
Yeah.
And you have to fulfill that promise.
I know.
So I think you just need to just do a group text and say, "Hey, listen, I have a message. Don't kill the messenger," and leave it at that. And if they believe it, they believe it. If they don't, they don't. That's on them. But the fact that their mom came through to give them a message, I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the fact that she took the time, she took the time to stop and address them.
Yeah.
Because one thing you and I both know, when you get to that dimension, not the one I went to, but you have a lot of people greeting you, and then it's like a sea full of people, rejoicing with you. But she made it a point to let her family, her children, know that she was okay.
Indeed.
Yep.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So it was that was one of the other reasons why I didn't sit in grief long.
Good.
Because I knew my grandma was okay.
She gave you confirmation.
She gave me confirmation.
And her children need the confirmation too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I'm looking at the camera because my twin flame is very stubborn. I'm going to make sure she does that for them. Because she's like, all right, I guess they, if they watch the show, then they can see what the message. No, we gonna
From
make
your
sure
mouth to God's ears.
we're gonna make sure that they get the message. But that's very beautiful,
Yeah.
Janine, and I'm so happy for you. And I hope that the audience can learn from your experience. Like you said, it's very hard with the grieving. But when you're enlightened and you get these messages, don't throw them away.
Yeah.
Even, Janine was lucky because she got hers clear as a bell. But sometimes it's just like a feather dropping or something that you had in common with your loved one. It could be, something with cooking, something.
Yeah.
Look out for the signs because they want to let you know that they're okay.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So part of the other things that happened, because I wanted to get back to the low vibrations during, as spiritualists, is that, I had been because again, my family members, I have a lot of family. And I have family members that are low vibrational.
Yeah.
And things were happening again with being around the transition process. It was traumatic. It wasn't a good situation in some instances. People weren't handling it. And
just the whole grieving process lowers vibrations.
It does
anyway. So even
because it's a low vibration.
Yeah,
grief is a low vibration, and then on top of that, again, family were carrying low vibrations, and as an empath, I was feeling every drip drop of it. And when I tell you, I was getting maybe 2 to 3 hours worth of sleep. We were all getting like very, very minimal hours of sleep because of everything that was happening. But I was experiencing it in a way that I've never experienced this level of energy. And I didn't know how to handle it as a spiritualist. And I was almost disappointed in myself because I really didn't know how to master or utilize the tools that I know that I tell people how to use. And I'm like, why? Because it was just, I was in this low and I wasn't balancing.
Well, I think you have to give yourself a pass.
Yeah.
Because it would have been different if you were like at a sweet 16 or a birthday party.
Yeah.
And it was low vibrations and you ingested it. But you were grieving briefly for your grandma. And then on top of that, you had to be there for your mom. So it's so many different moving objects that it was hard for you. But I'm pretty sure if it was a sweet 16, you would have been in there like, okay, this is too heavy in here.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
But you couldn't be out because you had to be there for support.
Definitely. So, but I will say this though. I was able to check myself though.
Good.
I was able to check myself relatively quickly because I was aware of the tools. Yeah. Even though I didn't utilize them when I know that I was supposed to utilize them, I still kept my vibrational scale in the back of my mind. Okay. So I knew when I was sitting in lower vibrations. So like, as I had explained, I knew that I was sitting in grief and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to sit here. But then dealing with other people's energy. Yes. I think that's what I said. That's when I'm telling you that I was sitting in lower vibrations. Yeah. Yeah. Because it was actually taking me to some traumatic instances in my childhood, being around certain individuals in my family. Okay. That were making me feel even lower vibrations, even levels of shame, which you know is the lowest vibration. Oh, yeah. And on top of that, I was drinking. So people who are depressed. Oh yeah. Who rely on substances. Yeah, that it makes it worse. It makes it worse. Yeah. Yeah. And I knew better than that because my family, they know I don't drink. They're like, "What? You're drinking?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think I need it today." And I submitted. I drank, and when I did that, it threw everything off. Yeah. everything. And I lost control. My chakras were a mess. And it wasn't so much obviously my upper chakras were still pretty much intact, but my lower chakras lost control. And I really was having a hard time. And this is where you have a lot of these lower vibrational emotions that sit on you is in your lower chakras. And this is where I couldn't control it. And it was, a lot of it was just because that I had but I utilized substances, which is something that my body wasn't used to.
So now, so you had this experience.
Yeah.
What helped you get out of this rut?
First of all, my spirit guides were like, girl, if you don't go meditate, they told me multiple times, you need to go meditate. And I wouldn't, because I wouldn't sit still.
Okay.
Because there was so much going on. And I was so grateful for my mom, because one thing I kept telling you and telling my sisters, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad my mother was there, because my mom was my peace.
Yeah.
My mother was my peace. And my mom made me feel, she was the only thing that was my form of relief.
Okay.
But unfortunately, what I had did was in the end, I kind of unleashed on her. Thank God for my mom. My mom knows her daughter, so she ended up ignoring me. Shout out to Mama Ange.
Yeah,
she ended up ignoring.
Because I would have whipped your ass.
I know, she ended up ignoring me.
You in your 40s, I would have whipped your ass.
I know. I love my mommy.
Yes.
But I unleashed on her. That was totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it was, again, because I wasn't controlling my emotions the way I was supposed to.
Yeah.
And then I ended up, I retracted everything. And then I said, you know what, Ma? I know I need to go on this whole spiritual, I gotta do this whole regurgitation process. And I know that I need to get back on my grind, do my mindfulness.
So you press the reset button.
Absolutely reset. No drinking. Because she's like, go, let's have a drink. No, Ma. No drinking.
So what happened last time?
Grounding.
Yeah.
I hit the sun.
Good.
And I started to feel a lot better, like within 24 hours.
Good.
Meditating. The meditation helped dramatically. Dramatically. It helped me. Indeed.
So it's like you put the plug back in the wall.
I had to.
Yeah. That's what prayer and meditation does.
Yeah.
You really plug in to the universe for guidance. And you get a lot of energy through prayer and meditation. A lot of people don't understand that. That's why I tell people, I don't care what your faith is. You don't even have to truly believe that there's this big God in the universe, but the universe is there for you. So just plugging into the universe, you get a surge of energy. It's like going to the gas station.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to the gas station, a lot of times I wait till I'm on E. That's me. My husband's like, stop doing that. He'd be angry at me. So I wait till I'm close to E. And then the funny thing is I feel like I'm part of the car, because when I fill up the tank, I feel like at peace.
Yeah.
I feel like E's like, now we can drive for miles now. Because them last, like when you under that last line, you be like.
And anxiety.
Yes. Yes. That's a good analogy.
But you know what? You did it to yourself, bitch.
I did. The other day I did that. I waited till it went past the bottom line. And I was like, that's when I was calling all the angels. And then I went, because you have this thing on the dashboard where you can see how many miles left you got for gas.
Yeah.
0. I was like, okay, wait. See? But
so why do we drive on empty? Why do we do this to ourselves?
We like to push the envelope. We are stubborn.
Yeah.
We want to do it our way. We always feel like we still got time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I do it. And my husband always tell me, stop waiting till you're close to E to get gas. And I know better.
Yeah. And that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
I knew better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew better.
Mm-hmm.
But audience, forgive me. I'm human. And that's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah. So, I think I told you, I said, because we were both like kind of not beating up on ourselves, but we were like, damn, this thing is hard. This life is hard. Because we were like, as spiritualists, if we're having a hard time dealing with our issues, how do we expect our audience to deal with their issues when they come across some obstacles?
Exactly.
And so one of the things that Janine and I had mentioned to Janine was that, you know, you and I are still learning and we're still in school.
Yeah.
And one thing as you can see, we're very transparent. So as we're learning, we're giving you the tools because, you know, the best teacher is someone who went through the trauma.
Exactly right.
So, you know, so you're able to teach what you went through.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. It was imperative to put this out there because, you know, everybody's on their own journey.
Yes.
Everybody's on their own path. Everybody has their own experiences.
Yeah.
And we recognize that.
Yes.
And we hold you all harmless. We totally get it. And that's why when we work with our clients, we incorporate that into the process. We have to acknowledge that everybody is on their own path.
Exactly.
So sometimes people aren't able to get some of the things that we're trying to teach them because that's just not where they are in that moment.
You know, one of the things that we've been doing with our clients is having them write a diary on what triggers them.
Yes.
Because, and I think I mentioned this in the last show, it's really important as you're trying to raise your vibration to figure out what causes you to lower on the vibrational scale. Because you'll be surprised, like something simple like this cup can trigger someone. I work on a psych ward and, you know, a patient might say, that cup, that's a cup that when I was getting raped, that cup, there was a cup sitting there.
Yeah.
So people must understand that you need to learn yourself and learn what triggers you, because then next time you come across that object or that person, you can be able to master it better than how you normally handle it. Also, too, this morning after we had our morning conversation about the show, when we got the phone, I said, you know, I envy people who are not empaths. I envy them.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that there's more empaths on this planet than not.
Yeah.
Back in the day, empaths were far few in between. Now, a lot of people are empaths.
They are.
I have a personal family member. I'm not going to shout her out, but she's not an empath. So she does not have the ability to read a room. So when she walks in a room, she's sunshine and sunflowers, and people could be dying around her. There could be a damn war. And she come in, woo! and everybody look at her like, we're in Apple land and you over there in Orange land. What's going on? So the reason why I envy empaths is because you feel all the energy in a room, and that's horrid. Like that's traumatic in itself.
It is.
Because now I got to feel the argument you had with your husband this morning.
You do.
And then sometimes we don't even know if it's us or if it's someone else.
Correct.
That's the hard part. Another thing that Janine and I go through, and other people who are like psychic mediums, I could be feeling chest pain. And I'm like, oh my God, is this GERD? You know, you start thinking about all the fried chicken you done ate. But meanwhile, it's a dude sitting over in the corner.
Yep.
And they warning us like, he's gonna have a heart attack in the next couple days or next few weeks.
Exactly.
So it's really hard being us because you absorb everything. And another thing too is that we try to protect our aura, but I
didn't do a good job this weekend though.
But we get attacked by so many people's spiritual teams.
You do.
So like, if I'm feeling chest pain, it's because your team is trying to let me know you are not taking care of yourself. But how am I supposed to know when there's 8 people in the room? So that's the hard part too. So I could only imagine you was sitting there and you was this.
That's what was happening. I was absorbing everybody's
everyone's
stuff.
spiritual teams was attacking me. Yeah.
And it's funny because I had an intuitive tell me recently. She said that you are going to become more and more what's the word? More medium, like your mediumship skills were going to improve, and that spirits were going to come to you, and that you were going to have a hard time deciphering, and your signals were going to get crossed. And that's what was happening, bro. And when I tell you, I was literally in the bed, and my leg is shaking because I was getting hit with so much energy because I didn't know what was happening to me.
Yeah.
And like this shit is like really real, and I didn't like it was this like it's just like the new experience, and I didn't know how to navigate and or diffuse the energy. So I'm learning.
You're learning, and I keep going back to the grieving part.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because you work in a hospital.
Yeah.
So you come to work with your armor on. And when you were vulnerable in the situation that you were in, because you know how many times, like, you work in a building with thousands of people.
And you know what's crazy? And I'm glad you brought that up, because I did want to bring that up today.
Yeah.
When I go to work, I protect myself at work.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, because it was my family, I let my guard down and I didn't bring any protection.
Yeah. Like, look, I got my crystal. I carry this crystal.
Come on, girl.
All the time. This is my, like, listen, I put my nursing uniform on and I put this in my pocket.
Yeah.
I always have my protection around me.
I wear a symbol with me to work. And I had nothing. I was free balling around my family.
You was open sesame.
Open sesame, bitch. And they, and I literally didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
So it was a mess.
Yeah.
It was a mess. But you know what the beautiful thing is? I was able to start at ground zero. Mm-hmm. Start and literally ground.
Yeah.
And meditate and know that it was going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Center myself, center my energy, and understand that I could forgive myself for allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
Understand that I'm human.
Excellent.
And just be in the moment.
Excellent. I'm proud of you because, see, usually when someone is not centered and doesn't have prayer and meditation and doesn't have all these tools, that's what ends up making them go in a different direction. And it becomes a little seed becomes a mountain.
Yes.
And then that could have been some mental issues that you had, and you could have started having, anxiety issues.
Yes.
So thank God you were able to regroup yourself, press that reset button, and say to yourself, like, wait, I know the rules and regulations. I know the tools.
Yeah.
Let me backtrack.
Yeah.
And get it together.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that kind of happened with me with the IRS.
Well, damn.
Child.
The man was looking for you, girl.
So, and Janine can vouch for this. I have been in bed with the IRS since 2023. Like I have been there. Anybody watching this, if you work for the IRS, I have been your mascot. I've been telling people, listen, call the IRS, don't run from them. They're your friend. I've been telling people that don't run, they're your friend. So what happened with me was I was, to be transparent, I was put on a payment plan in 2023 up until this point. Something happened along the way, and I'm not going to get too much into details because my husband's involved, and I know my husband's like, oh, you always telling our business. So I'm not going to get too detailed, but something slipped through the cracks. And so then I got some certified mail saying, if you don't have X, Y, and Z, we're going to start garnishing and levying all kind of stuff. So when I tell you that took me out of my element, first of all, to rewind it, we had to wait literally 2 hours on hold. I had to listen to elevated music, waiting for them to get on the phone. Then when the beautiful woman came on the phone, she had a beautiful Southern accent. She started going off of me professionally. And started going off of me professionally, and I had to stop in my tracks because I'm in one of the chapters I'm working on is speaking up. So I spoke up for myself, and I didn't go off on her, but I let her know, like, listen, ma'am, I make great money. And I said, and I'm owing you guys thousands and thousands of dollars each year. And I said, and I'm not running from you guys because you can see my record since May of 2023.
Right.
So it's very apparent I'm not running from you guys because the way she was attacking me as if I was running from the IRS. And I'm like, your records clearly show I have not been running.
Right.
So once I went off on her professionally, she actually, I won't say lowered her vibration, but she lowered her tone.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was more sweet to me and kind because I could tell the way she responded to me after I went off, she's going through the same thing. Don't get it twisted. People that work for the IRS, they struggling too.
Yeah, yeah.
So, because they got to pay their taxes and they have to pay their taxes. So once we squared away everything, when I got the phone, it was me and my husband. I had like a little tantrum. I felt like a volcano erupting, and I was just so angry. Like everything that we've talked about up until this point, all the tools that we've given to you guys up until this point went out the window. And I was like having a little tantrum. And the funny thing was my husband was like, oh, everything is going to be fine. You know, they gave us 30 days and we're going to get through this. And I didn't want to look at it from another set of lenses.
Yeah.
I wanted to have my pity party. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to be mad. And I actually let that simmer for hours.
Yeah.
I had an attitude. I was walking around with an attitude for the rest of the day. And then finally, I remember being in the bathroom. I'm like, what am I doing?
There you go.
What am I, like, come on, Keish. Like, you're not being arrested. You know, they ain't taking any money out of your check.
Yeah.
You know, they're giving you, 30 days for whatever they need me to do. And I had to just regroup myself. I prayed and meditated. And they let me see it from another set of lenses. And what I learned from that was you cannot react to everything that you hear or see.
Yeah.
You must stop and think about it. And if you have to meditate, but just think about it first.
Yeah.
And say, okay, how can I get through this?
Exactly.
Versus going off or, and I didn't go off on anybody. So I was like a volcano ready to erupt because I couldn't go off anybody. It was no one to blame, like to point the finger. It was something that someone else should have done for us, but that's their business. So my husband was more kinder than I in my mentality. So like I said, moving forward, I prayed and meditated
But you knew the situation could have been worse too.
Yes.
And you didn't allow that moment to keep you stuck.
Exactly.
And that's what's really important for people to know.
Exactly.
So when we say like we're human, acknowledging the fact that we're human means that we will make mistakes.
Oh yeah.
Right? We're not perfect. And that our vibrations will lower and we will become misaligned from time to time.
Yeah.
But understanding that in this human experience that we will encounter these lows.
Yes.
Knowing that it's a lesson. How are we going to conquer this lesson and then bring ourselves back up to where we're supposed to be?
Exactly. And I want to shout out my husband because he didn't lower his vibration for me.
Beautiful.
Like, I was on a low vibration and he was looking at it from another set of lenses. He's like, he was like, we're blessed by God. He was saying all positive stuff. And so he actually, because he didn't lower his vibration, it helped me. Because sometimes you don't need someone to be in the same pity party as you.
Right.
Because then you guys are feeding off each other and we could have been miserable for days together.
Yep.
But because he was higher than I was, I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, come on, stop it. So, I commend him. And anybody that is going through the same situation, in your household, if someone's on a lower vibration, don't lower yourself.
Yeah.
Elevate that person.
Yeah.
And don't make that person feel bad for being on a lower vibration. And he didn't do that.
Yeah.
He could have been like, come on, Keish, like, what are you doing? But he didn't do that. He let me have my pity party. I was in the corner like a kid. And he let me be. And then eventually I came up because he didn't lower his vibration. So that's really important for people to understand.
Well, that's beautiful then.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
You guys have each other as soulmates because we already established that's your soulmate.
Definitely.
And that he was able to bring you back up. And that you acknowledge it too.
Yeah. So thank you.
Go ahead, Troy B.
It's funny. I don't even think I didn't thank him for that.
You
so
better go ahead and
I'm
give that man some sugars.
Yeah.
But listen, so that's our experience, right? But as for our audience may have different challenges. And, I wanted to bring up this TikTok video that I had found.
Yes.
And there was this young lady who was dealing with having children in her household who were not as cleanly as she is.
Yes.
And let me show you the video because the video is pretty deep, and the way that she is experiencing her perception of the scenario is pretty profound. So I want to show it to the audience. Check this out.
I'm not editing this video. I'm having a full-blown anxiety attack, and I'm trying to calm down. I'm not editing. I'm showing y'all everything in real time, and it's okay if the internet doesn't agree with me. But they call me dramatic. Let me tell y'all something. I pay all the bills in this house. I like to be clean because, one, from trauma. Two, is just who I am as a person. We have a big house. I clean this house up all day by myself. All day. I have big kids in this house. I haven't been downstairs in 24 hours because I said, I'm not in the mood to clean up downstairs. Told my daughters live downstairs. We live upstairs. Told my daughters yesterday, I just cleaned up the whole house upstairs. All I ask is for downstairs to be clean because I need to come down there and go to the laundry room. I just walked down the steps. I'm going to show y'all what downstairs look like. I want my daughters walk around here with their hair done. Every pair of sneakers that come out. They got iPhones. They got iPads. They got their own room. They get everything they heart fucking desires. You hear me? I treat these kids like gold. I believe they should live a soft fucking life. I don't ask them for nothing. All I ask is for them to get this fucking house clean because I cannot take the dirt, bro. I'm about to go downstairs and I'm about to show y'all this. And y'all natural reaction is going to say, walk away, let them clean it. They had the opportunity to clean this shit. They will not clean it. I purposely didn't put a garbage bag inside the garbage for 3 days. I walked past it for 3 because I said I want to see who's going to put a garbage. You know they've been taking the garbage and putting it in a dustbin. Remind you, the garbage bags is right there. All you got to do is open up the count. They refuse, son. They refuse, and I could act so nicely. I could ask and I could ask and I could ask. But when I get to this point where I feel like bugging out, like I feel like yelling, screaming, and breaking shit. Because why can't y'all just... I can't walk away from it. So I'm about to go downstairs and I'm about to show y'all what it looked like. And y'all gonna say in the comment section, I would have walked away. I would have left it. Nowhere in hell I'm gonna clean it. My fucking soul won't let me walk away from it. Y'all don't understand. Maybe it's related to trauma or whatever it is. If I look at downstairs right now and I try to go about my day, it's gonna be on my mind all day. So yes, I'm going to clean it because I cannot take it. But while I'm cleaning it, I'm losing it in my mind because it's like, how can you live like this? Look at this shit.
So, wow.
First of all, I want to say to this woman, and I commend her because she was exposing her life.
Yeah.
And she has daughters, and of course her daughters' friends and family members will see this video. So she exposed her household. So
yeah.
I commend this woman, and I want to actually invite her on the show. Like if she wants to come on the show virtually, I don't know what state she lives in, but I would love for us to talk to her because
I would love that too.
She has trauma. She definitely has trauma. And
she admitted she has trauma.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that Janine and I have realized, and we did some counseling last night, when there's elements in your life that needs to be fixed, God is going to put you in situations to help you fix it.
Yeah.
So like I said at one point, if you are here, one of the things on your checkoff list is patience. God is not going to hand you patience on a silver platter.
Correct.
He's going to put you in situations for you to learn and conquer patience.
Correct.
In her situation, I have some questions. I would love to know how old the daughters are.
Yeah.
She said the kids are big, but I'm wondering if they're in a like if they're above 20 where they have their own jobs and paying for their own hairstyles.
Yeah, I'm feeling like around like 15-ish.
Okay, because it seemed like she pays for it, right?
So I think there's a structural issue too. Obvious, not think there is a structure issue there.
Yeah, those girls.
Yes.
I'm like, let them come with me for 2 weeks. I'll send them back to you.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this situation? When you first saw it, what was your first thinking?
Well, I felt for her because I really think that she needs a moment for herself.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with everything that I had experienced this past weekend,
Mm-hmm.
I think that she just needs to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing.
Okay.
She needed to step outside the situation, and she really needed to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Forget the mop.
Yes.
Forget the broom.
Mm-hmm.
Forget the trash on the floor. I get it though,
Yeah.
but you need to be with yourself for a second.
Yes.
Be with yourself for a second, because there's a lot of things that were going on that I felt that she was spiraling
Mm-hmm.
and she was losing control, because
yeah.
I felt like it was outside of the house. It was more than just the house being clean.
Mm-hmm.
There was something where she's losing control of her household
Mm-hmm.
and her life.
Yeah.
And the only thing that she can control is cleaning.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the trauma.
That's the trauma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna pray for her.
Yeah.
Her daughters. She needs to find another way to communicate with her daughters. I don't know what it is. If we were able to do family counseling with them.
Yeah.
Because there's something in the air that these girls don't even have compassion for their mother to even say, you know what, let me put a garbage bag in.
I think that for her, there may be some level of, not to put her business out there, there may be some molestation on her end.
Mm.
And that's where the lack of control is coming from, and the lack of self-expression with her children. And that's why she wants to give them everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she thinks she's protecting them by giving them things, but it's actually rotting them. It's actually ruining them. And there's a lot of layers there that's with her. That's why I would love to have her on the show.
Yeah, definitely. Because she's willing to, open her closet and tell us what the trauma is. And even if she didn't feel comfortable talking about the trauma, at least we can help her.
Yeah.
And her children need to understand. I'm wondering what the outcome was after her daughters saw this video go viral. I wonder if her daughters were like, damn, Ma, we really messed up.
I don't think so.
That probably made them more angrier.
Yeah.
But what she needs to do is turn off the well. Because if you like to get your hair done, listen, we're going to shut this off.
I don't think it's going to be that easy for those kids, rotten kids.
Well, I have 3 daughters. And so, and I've struggled throughout the years. Even to this day, it's like, okay, I'm going to say, do me a favor. And then I'll say 90% of the time, it gets done. But I even say to them, I shouldn't have to say to you, do me a favor. If you see something, do it. Why I got to come and tell you to do it?
Yeah.
But the whole problem is, if she don't fix what she needs to fix with them, these are women that's going out into the real world.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Remember, we talked about this in previous shows. She can't fix them
until she fixes herself.
Until she fixes her.
Yep.
And that is the reality.
Mm-hmm.
She cannot be complete for her children.
Yeah.
Until she raises her own vibration and fixes her own self-love issue.
Definitely.
There's a very serious self-love issue that is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people with OCD, and I've seen a lot of people with OCD in their household, they cripple many of the members in that house.
Yeah.
Because OCD is a mental health disorder, and the other members have a tendency to take advantage of that OCD that you have.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, shoot,
it's enabling.
Yeah, they're like, all right, well, I knew you're gonna clean up anyway, so why even bother?
Yeah.
So she definitely needs to fix herself, because that OCD has crippled her household.
Yes.
And now she's created these monsters.
Yes.
And not to say she can't blame anyone but herself, but a lot of the onus is on her lap.
It is.
And I don't think she understood when she did that video. I think because she did say it could be from the trauma, but I think it was a level of love. Like, what, I know I have trauma, but if you guys love me enough, like, damn, just, put a garbage bag in the garbage can. Like,
but that's the whole thing. She wants love reciprocated because she was never getting love reciprocated back to her.
Mm-hmm.
So she's giving because she wants love reciprocated back to her.
Yeah.
Somebody was not protecting her, number one.
Yeah.
And someone was not giving her the love that she deserved. She is screaming, and it is coming out.
Yes. I just got a little message. I don't know if this is directly for her. So these two girls are in the basement.
Mm.
At some point, they lived upstairs with her. What's that saying when the cat's not around, when the mouse is out to play?
Yeah.
So these young ladies at some point had to live upstairs with their mother and endure that OCD. There's people who have, I was watching something the other day and the lady said that her mother's OCD was traumatic for her. So that was part of her childhood trauma, was having a mother with OCD.
Right.
And so you can only imagine when they lived upstairs. This is the message I'm getting. When they lived upstairs with her, they had to be perfect because people with OCD make it hard to be imperfect because you got to be on that train with them.
Yeah.
I remember watching that show when they swapped mothers.
Yeah.
And so there was one mother that went to another house and she had OCD and she was losing her mind. But she was showing that in her house, if she opens her kid's drawer and one thing is out of order, she takes a whole drawer out and throw it on the ground and make them fold up their clothes. So I'm wondering in her case, was it a thing where these kids were traumatized from the OCD and now that they're in the basement, it's like, oh, Lord, that's the message I'm getting.
I'm going to tell you what I feel from the kids. Because the mother is overextending and buying them things to show love, remember, she doesn't know how to communicate with them.
Yeah.
So she is not verbalizing her love. And the children are receiving it as, well, you buy us things, but you're not telling me you love me because somebody didn't tell her. So the children are not reciprocating love because they feel like they're really not getting love from her. I'm telling you, the children are hurting too.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because if they were getting love, then obviously they would be like, okay, mom, no problem. And they would do what their mother is asking of them. These children are dying. And I don't know if it's because their fathers are not around either.
Yeah.
But because obviously this is a very, very broken household.
Yeah.
But these children are lacking love. And this is where a lot of generational trauma and karma is sent through the family chain, and people don't pick up on it.
Yeah.
And I can feel it through those children. Those children are really, truly are lacking love in their eyes. They don't think that they're getting the love that they need from their mother, even though the mother thinks that she is overextending by giving because that's her love language.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't know how to express it in other ways because it wasn't shown to her.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, wow.
Yeah,
very
so
unfortunate.
I hope she could come on our show, please, because I'm pretty sure we have a lot of missing pieces to your puzzle. And I would like for you to be able to tell your truth because that one video is everyone's vision and version of you. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure there's more to you than that video. So you're more than welcome to come. Yeah. And help us fill in these
blanks, baby.
Yep.
But indeed, man, this was a very, very powerful and enlightening show. I just wanted to dedicate this particular show to my beautiful grandmother, Miss Mary Lee Wingate. She was a beautiful soul, and she was filled with love and loved the people around her. And I was so blessed to have her in my life. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. If you haven't subscribed, you know what to do by now.
Yep.
Come on, hit that subscribe button.
Right here.
Share this video.
Yes.
Send the vibration of love to the next person that needs it. And know that we're all human, baby.
Definitely.
We're all going through this human experience.
We sure are.
And just remember that God is love. Love is the highest frequency. And go and find the God within you.
Mwah.